Ooh. And here we are. We are live now. So, hello, everybody. This is the second episode of the Gun Gamers podcast, streamed live for your amusement with no studio audience because we suck and we don't deserve that. But we are here with several guests who are relevant to the topics we will be discussing. Maybe, who knows? But we've got Tyler.
Hello.
Do you have anything else to say, Tyler, or is that it?
No,
is
that's
that
pretty much it. That's just keep it rolling. Let's go through it.
All right. Then we have Kyle.
Hey, guys.
A little background on you, Kyle. So how long have you been playing Airsoft, and what do you do with Airsoft?
I've been playing Airsoft since 2004, and I run a field and do too many other stupid things with Airsoft. It ruins my life.
Yes, it ruins all of our lives. Then we have Chris.
How you doing?
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself, because people watching may not have seen you that much on the channel.
Right. I started playing about 4 years ago when my sons expressed interest in Airsoft, and we have joined up with the Gun Gamers. Have been playing more and more and expanding our experience.
Awesome. And finally, we have someone pretty much everyone knows, Amy.
Hey, what up, what up?
Yes. So, Amy, you're a field owner and all that. I mean, most people know that, which is why you are very relevant to the topic of conversation that we are going to be having today. So, this podcast kind of came about because Tyler was having this conversation with a couple of us, actually in the group chat for planning our last podcast, about how how national events can be, long-term sustainable, how national events can keep people interested and keep from petering out. And then it kind of gave rise to the rest of our ramblings that made us decide, you know what? We've been kind of remiss in talking about some of this stuff. So we're going to just put it all out there. Is that pretty much accurate, Tyler?
Yeah, it's like pretty close to 100% accurate.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'm going to actually start with a couple of questions for the local field owners to talk about, because this is going to be something that is, I think, going to be very relevant to anyone watching who is even just curious about the back end and also wants to, know more about their local community and more how they can help, or maybe if they're running a field, how that can all go. So Amy and Kyle specifically, you guys have been at this for a while. So what is your opinion on some of the most important things that a local field needs to do in order to keep the local player base engaged?
Why don't you go first with that, Amy?
Okay. Have a good field setup would be number one for me. If the field setup isn't great, people tend to kind of drift away, finding a different field that has a little bit more better of a setup and that they enjoy playing more. What I tend to find is fields that don't have like the building set up or the bunker set up correctly, it kind of just turns into a lane and it's kind of hard to play in. So if the field is good and well laid out, people tend to want to play more because it's a little bit more dynamic and they can kind of, play to their strengths, which is really, really important.
I would say one thing. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
One thing I would add that's very important is people keeping a good rule set and enforcing it. If you allow people to do stupid stuff and you kind of just let, favorites or usuals have their way with things, that can ruin a field experience. We've had fields local where that becomes a huge issue, where people just, hey, the regulars kind of get away with whatever they want. And it ruins the experience for a lot of other people. So it's about managing that balance between what experienced players want who have been to the fields a lot and what new players would enjoy as well.
Exactly. I agree.
So it sounds to me like, I mean, based on what I've seen as a player perspective, I completely agree with both of that. If you have consistent, well-enforced rules, that's going to create the best possible gameplay environment, in a friendly competition sort of way. And then if you have a field that, Amy is mentioning, is built from the ground up to be played, and that's something I think a lot of fields get lazy on. I feel like a lot of fields... Yeah, a lot of fields go very hard into like, we want to do a theme or we want to look like a certain place. And then they forget, hey, by the way, you still have to design a game around this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amy.
Go ahead. No, you got it, Kyle.
I was gonna say, well, it varies what area you guys want to tackle when it comes to like when we're hosting games. Amy and I, we host opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to that. She hosts the short, rapidly changing game types, running a bunch of different modes, and I host the opposite end where I try and do in-depth scenarios and that kind of stuff. And when you do both of those, each have to be done correctly, because if you try and blend them together, it never works out, and you always have to design around what you have. And a lot of people who try and either host short games or long games, they don't design around the limitations of the field that they're in, and that creates huge messes like spawn trapping, people getting upset over anything and everything. Oh, this objective's too hard. I can't climb up this hill. It's too steep. Pretty much everything.
But yeah, I would say that's true, because I do a lot of game design, and I actually run games at Amy's Field a good bit. And that's always one of our biggest challenges, is that the field that, is River City. River City as a field works much better for shorter type of games. So we're always running into various challenges for trying to do longer form games there. And I'm actually going to be experimenting more with any future games I run there, with trying to have like mission based, but very short missions.
Yeah, and my field is the exact opposite. My field is very hard to run short-based games on. It's because my field is very vertical with lots of, deep ravines and stuff like that. So it becomes very difficult to run short, rapid, successful games, because there isn't just this wide open space where you can just go at each other over and over again and constantly switch it up. And terrain, it plays a big part in what will work and what won't.
And I would actually say that's a big part of, determining what kind of experience you're going to market yourself as well. Because as a field, you have to do marketing, and you have to understand your audience and what kind of experience you're providing. You have to be fundamentally realistic about that, and you have to be open about that with your player base. And that brings us to a challenge that local fields have, is attracting new players and creating an environment that is welcoming to new players. And this is where I want to get Chris's input, because Chris is in a really good position, in my opinion, to give his opinion on this. So Chris, what goes into making a field welcoming to newer players, and especially to kids? Because, you have just recently managed that.
Right. Well, one of the things with kids, I think they draw a lot of their experience, or a lot of their desire to play Airsoft is from video games, that high-paced kind of Call of Duty type of gameplay, in addition to multiple different types of game modes. And so the smaller kinds of fields and some of the indoor fields, I think, lend themselves to that kind of gameplay. When we were going to Bad Blood last year, I was a little bit concerned that an all-day type of op my son would get bored with, and luckily he didn't. But a place like River City, where they do multiple different kinds of objectives and different game modes, especially when he was younger and not as into it as he is now, definitely kept his interest.
We're losing you.
Nope, that's just you, I think, Eric. He was coming through clear on my end.
Was it just me? Oh,
yep.
Okay. All right. But it sounds to me like, you were saying that the type of experience that's going to appeal to kids, and I would agree with this generally, is that because we see kids usually at either indoor fields or smaller local fields. Yeah,
I think it's more comfortable for them because it's an experience that they've had before through video games. Do the more militaristic thing, I think, can be intimidating to them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think getting super milsim and super into the really advanced rule sets, like if you dropped a kid into a milsim West game as his first game, 9 out of 10 children are not going to have fun.
No,
probably not.
No, I would say the more niche, like even the more milsim you get with a game, the harder it is with a younger age group. Because I would say that the more short attention span the game style is, that's where all the children care, which is exactly what you said. I think that's a good fit for it, because I don't get a lot of kids out at my field. It's mostly an older player base that attends.
And also, that I think that has to do, Kyle, just realistically with the people who even know about your field.
That's true. I'm like an underground old field. They're like, "Are you going to host games every weekend?" And I'm like, "No, When I host a game, I'll let you know, and if you want to show up, that's on you. I don't care.
Yeah, you have to be on the email list.
Yeah.
You have to subscribe to the RSS feed because that's still a thing.
Post it up on MySpace.
Yeah.
You can like Kyle's Field on a website called Dig.
Oh God, I forgot Dig existed.
We all do. We all forgot it existed.
And you know what? But that's the thing, though, is because we just talked about how and this is. I want to latch on something you said, Chris. So you mentioned how then you brought Mikey, your son, out to Bad Blood, and that was his first like all day style game, really. And you were, not sure if that was going to be something he would be super into. So I want to talk about how. So how is it that players make that transition from local field only games, like short attention span, short, quick, varied game types, into going to all day games or milsim games? Like, how is it that, for example, like I started out playing at Kyle's Field, which actually might be a bad example because Kyle's Field makes everything else feel easy. How is it I went from playing at Kyle's Field to now going to like Milsim West games? This is my favorite thing ever. Like, how do you make that jump?
Well, there was during the summers, you were hosting a few of the longer style ops at River City that were full field, not just the towns, and those ended up being almost full day type events with breaks, and it was kind of a hybrid of an all day kind of op, with a more short based CQB kind of environment. So it was kind of a hybrid of both of those kind of situations. So kind of slowly grew into it and built up. And another thing too is he's gotten to know a lot of the gun gamers and, enjoys being out with the group of people. And that's a lot of it too. Just being around with a good group of friends and play that kind of pulls him out more.
Yeah, I would say having a group of friends when you go out to play airsoft is key, because when I attract a lot of, weird mix of people, and it's always people who know people. It's not just like, one dude just showing up to play. It's like him and like 6 of his buddies, that's kind of how they do stuff. But also what you said about Bad Blood, you were concerned about it. Like, I think Bad Blood is like the perfect step into a national event, because it's almost like a giant it is a giant skirmish. Yeah. It is just a continuous, just go and shoot people, respawn and shoot people. It's not a milsim event compared to what you see anywhere else.
Right.
I would say that's fair. And then something that I want to bring up too is like, because I think the most important thing, arguably, is having the group and the team that's into it. Because if you have a good group of people, anything is fun. Like, Amy will come out with us to like Gladio and to Ground Zero. Totally not Amy's game. Amy will come out to like Hunter's Creek games. Like, totally not Amy's type of thing. But she still manages to come out and have fun.
It's not about the gameplay so much. It's just to hang out. I mean, it's like playing video games by yourself. It's kind of boring. So if you have a group of friends to play with it, it doesn't matter where you're playing. It's just kind of fun to be with your friends and hang out and just randomly shoot people, even though you don't see anybody.
Yeah. And we appreciate you being such a good sport.
Okay. It's fun.
Well, I know 2 years ago when I did American Milsim, that was way outside my comfort zone. That was my first and only national op. And had I not hooked up with you guys, I definitely would not have made the jump to go to that.
And you know what? And I want to transition to mentioning that. So what was it that made you go to Faded Giant other than us harassing you?
It was seeing all the awesome pictures from Gladio, to be honest with you. I saw the time that you guys had there, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I missed out on that. What's the next one I can do?
And in retrospect, Gladio was a terrible event, but we made it fun.
We make everything fun.
This is true.
That's just what we do. So I think we all agree that having a group of people to play with is probably the best thing. But I want to bring it back to the local fields, because we went to the national events just a little bit here. So how is it? How do local fields have the best chance of getting players to have that kind of experience where they form those bonds and where they find those people who they want to play with and they want to grow in the game with. Because I do think local fields play a role in that. I think having a local field that understands their role as a community builder, I do think that helps. So what are some things you guys look for just in general? What are your general thoughts on that kind of thing?
Well, generally, when I start, or when the day starts, being friendly to the people that come into your facility and having, kind of a positive experience right out the gate makes a huge difference in how people will kind of play throughout the day. Sure, when you play for a long time, you don't eat or you don't drink a lot and you kind of get frustrated. Things can get frustrating, but for the most part, as long as you're welcoming and you have a fun type of experience and day, then more people will be inclined to bring their friends, like, hey, I had a really fun time here, you should come with me. And then it just kind of builds up on that, and then they make that transition and continue to play and then try new things as well.
For me, what I try and do is you want to be friendly, exactly what Amy said. And when you see a new player, they're usually pretty easy to pick out from the experienced player group, or, if you don't recognize them right away. Is I always try and pair those people with experienced people, and I try and work people into small groups, because then you start to know people, and hey, maybe that group won't stick together because, maybe they don't play the same style or whatever. But, you just keep mixing up, and eventually those people, they find people that like to play the same style, they get along, they talk about other similar things. And then that's what starts forming those bonds that forms a group of people who like to just go out and play together for whatever it is that they are really into as a group.
Agreed. And I know when my son and I first came out, Eric came up and talked to us. I don't know if you remember this, Eric. Our first day kind of asked us how we were about, and having us check out Mikey's new gun that he had gotten, and just kind of really made us feel welcome, which we didn't know you from anything at that point. So who was this large man talking to me? But again, it was welcoming, kind of, gave us a place, gave us a home there, and it was a good experience. So that's why we came back. I mean, that was our first shot. It could have been just a one-shot deal, but we had a good time where we came back.
That's adorable.
Yeah. Only I knew then what I know now.
If only you had known that you would be in a blow-up doll cult as a result of the large man being nice to you.
Yeah, there's no escaping that now. I mean, that's dumb. But it's like, I think I met Eric during a game where we're just standing on the field, and I think we started talking about Mass Effect, and that's when I actually met Kyle a few minutes after that conversation. So we're just standing on the field having a conversation about games in the middle of a game while we're getting shot at, just not caring about anything. So it's weird, quirky experiences like that I think kind of sets Airsoft apart from like other team sports maybe, but it's a weird collection that can kind of go on with groups of people and how they interact with each other.
And actually, I want to mention a common theme that I think gets summed up really well by Tyler's story. It seems to me like the more a local field creates that environment of not taking itself too seriously, that people are encouraged to interact in manners that are kind of outside the game, so to speak. It seems to me like that has a big part in creating those bonds between players where they can all remember that they're there to have a good time, and then they start socializing and interacting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding that bond and, getting along and not being too serious. Because the moment you get too serious, people are going to start getting upset when things don't go their way. Right. And that's why, even though I do really weird scenarios and all different kinds of stuff, the key is I'm always like wandering around on the admin side, be like, hey, how are things going? Are you having fun? If not, what can I do real quick to, issue a frag out, do this, do that, or the other thing, and, try and get it back on the fun spectrum rather than the, it's like when I run these scenarios, it's never about who's winning. The goal actually for me as a field owner is I want no one to win. I want everyone to be having a good, balanced fight the entire time.
I hope both sides lose.
Yeah, you all lose.
That's pretty much what you just said, too. Kyle
the Kobayashi Maru.
Kyle planned some really sadistic ops, though, because there was one time where he was like, hey, carry this really heavy sniper rifle up this hill a countless number of times. And so many people went, oh, I want the heavy sniper rifle. That would be so cool. And by like hour 2, you just saw people just sprawl out on. They're just like this on the ground. They didn't want to do anything anymore. Yeah, Kyle involves weights in his scenarios, and that's either a good thing
then
if you
I
lift
show
or a
up.
bad thing if you don't. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you're just
Kyle's
whatever,
like,
it's
I'm gonna give a really heavy objective, and I show up. He's like, well, that was worthless.
Yeah.
Kyle's gonna start, what Kyle's gonna have to do to actually make Eric work for an op is he's gonna have to get a smart car and just park it on the field and go, you have to pull that up the field as fast as possible. Otherwise you lose. And then that's just the end of it for Eric. That's the only way that'll be an op that's worth Eric's time for lifting.
So real quick, I do want to do one piece of viewer interaction because actually I think this will be fun. So someone asked, where's Joe? And I think it's worth mentioning why Joe isn't here, right?
I would say so.
Congratulations. Everyone raise a glass. Congratulations to our teammate, Joe, also the fan favorite podcast member who just had a baby. So welcome to the Gun Gamers team, baby Miles. And pretty soon he will be praising Judy with the best of us. But understandably, Joe is very tired and busy right now, so he is not here.
Eric, how happy would you be if that baby's first words were praise Judy?
I would die immediately because there was nothing left in life to achieve.
All right.
So we talked about having, a less serious experience, something that's more catered toward just getting people to have a good time. I mean, right? We're all about having a good time here. So now let's go to the total opposite end of the spectrum. What do you guys look for in a national event, like a milsim game? And I know Amy immediately is just going to say, I look for it to be a SpeedQB tournament.
Okay, whoa.
I look for the door.
Slow down. Listen, the last national op that I went to, I mean, it was all right. I mean, I didn't mind the field the way it was. It's just I didn't see anybody, and the result, I was super bored. So that's why I didn't play the second half. I couldn't find anybody. I don't know where they all went, but they weren't near me. I kind of look for more like, where's the action? That's where I want to be.
Yeah. Okay. So Amy looks for copious amounts of action. I'm still trying to convince Amy. I'm going to get her to an urban game. But so other than that, but what do you guys look for in like a national game? Like what makes a game appeal to you, and what makes it be something that you want to go out with your friends, or for the unique perspective, something you want to go to with your son?
I mean, for me as a field owner, I can host any kind of scenario game that I want. So scenarios don't particularly appeal to me because I could just do that myself and put it together and do that. For me, I like to do different and unique AOs. I find that, a really cool environment is something that I want to try out, something different. Because there's a lot of really cool places to play Airsoft, and especially if you've been into it for a while, you think like, man, it would be awesome to play Airsoft here. We've all had that thought. And I look at, some of those new AOs when they come up for a field, and I'm like, that would be sweet to play there. And that's a big factor for me when it comes to choosing a place to play.
That's it. That's pretty fair. I mean, for me, what I look for is it managed well? Because if it's not managed well, it's going to turn into just a complete cluster of just whatever it devolves into. How many players are attending? Because I think there can be such a thing as too many players at one op, depending on the AO size.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did the numbers run for Bad Blood? Like 800?
No.
Yeah,
it was 800. What did they call
tribal
that extra
faction, the
tribal fact? Yeah, that was probably another 200. There was basically 1,000 people there, which is how I went through 15,000 rounds of ammo in one day. I didn't think that was possible, but I did.
Versus there were like over 500, maybe 600 players at Caspian Breakout that I went to with Milsim West, and I think I went through like 3,000 to 5,000 BBs over 40 hours.
Exactly, yeah.
I believe it. And then to piggyback off of what Kyle said is I do like unique AOs. Are they safe? That's kind of one that's been brought up recently. They probably need to be safe. I mean, just for insurance reasons, so you don't get sued by someone who falls and injures themselves. But yeah, I'd like to see more unique AOs, but that's really kind of hard to do to procure unique AO because, like, Line Claws had that mall, and that kind of went south for the next year for whatever reason. Like, I'd like to play at an abandoned airport. That'd be cool. I mean,
I agree.
That's a wide area to use. It's fun and it's different. It's unique. Kyle, Eric, and myself, I think, played at a hotel and convention center near Niagara Falls.
We did that. I was there too for that.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. That was just kind of weird because they were going to demo it, so we got the unique ability to destroy the place.
That game was only really fun because we got to destroy stuff. The game itself was kind of shit.
No, the game was garbage, but we actually destroyed that place so badly they couldn't demo it. So
really,
because we exposed too much asbestos.
We exposed too much asbestos.
So here's the thing: I would say that we all have cancer, but we're probably just giving cancer with our content. So maybe we're neutralizing it.
That's fair. Yeah.
I know for me, I look for one day ops. I'm too old to be sleeping in the field. I like my company. But I like that.
I don't blame you on that.
At the end of the night. End of the day.
I want to try a Milsim West event because I'm one of the people here who hasn't tried it, and I'm going to try one this year. But I 100%, my biggest concern about the Milsim West experience is, man, do I want to sleep in the field because the hotel sounds really, really nice?
Right?
It's because you're too spoiled. You want the modern comforts. It's no. Get a cot and a tent. And you just shove it out in the field, and
I'll just be like Amy. I'll just cart like a queen size mattress out there. I'll inflate that sumbitch up, and it'll be perfect.
Listen, I at least sleep good.
You do. I'll give you that.
The next step of ridiculousness for Amy is like she brings out like a bowl of potpourri and snacks, and then just really like odd things that you wouldn't normally want to have, in an AO, but you're just like, it's homey, it's nice. And then you start getting shot at and you shoot back and you're like, it's less nice, but it's okay, it's fine. We'll work around
and then if you get those like right size things, like the little black peppercorns, you get some of the potpourri, you can use those as like improvised ammo.
That would really hurt.
It stings.
Spice of life.
Hold on real quick. I seem to have someone ringing into my apartment. I'm going to trust you all to do something. So just keep talking.
Why would you trust us?
Do something inappropriate? We can do that. Is anyone actually monitoring the YouTube to see if we're getting interesting questions at all? Because I'm definitely not. Did we get anything interesting that we can ramble about?
Someone asked if we would ever play in the UK, and I would wholeheartedly agree that I would play in the UK because they have a lot of cool fields.
Yeah, I hear they have a lot of cool fields. I would totally play there. I mean, I'm not going to fly there for that express purpose, but if I was there, I would definitely play.
Yeah. Sterling Airsoft, if they're still around, they had a lot of cool style events where like you could do small. They had like a small town that you could play in, and I saw a video where they had like a plane fuselage you could actually do like, some kind of op-in or at least a skirmish in. Which would be cool.
They had some really big events there. Didn't they have like 2,000 or 3,000 person events out in the UK as well?
Well, they have Border War in the Czech Republic.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, it's another gun gamer.
Yeah. We have Steve here because I just moved and I'm having a housewarming party after this, and Steve showed up, so now he's here in the podcast. Say hello, Steve.
How's it going, guys?
It's cute that you guys do the high school headphone thing.
Well, it's either that or have echoey audio, so take your pick.
Just keep the high school romance going. It's funny.
All right, so continue your previous conversation. I'll pick it up eventually.
I mean, you can, unless anyone wants to chime in on UK Airsoft. I mean,
well, someone asked if we would play in the UK, and the answer is if I could afford the travel. Totally. What about you, Steve? Would you play in the UK?
Yeah, same boat. If I could afford the travel for it. Though we'd have to do two-tone on all of our guns if we were going to do it, because don't they have the two-tone?
Well, if you're not part of UKARA,
I mean,
you probably rent a gun.
I was going to say we'd probably have to rent would be the easiest way to do it, because I don't think it's practical to. I mean, The UK doesn't like anything that looks cool, so I mean, we'd probably have to just rent it.
The only
I couldn't bring any of my knives to the UK.
The only person who could get away with bringing their own guns would be Amy, because she already has ridiculous colors on most of her high kappas, so she would probably fall under so she would probably be okay in that regard. Like, yeah, it's a light powder blue pistol. It's fine.
Oh my god, I can't
Just dish
wait.
it out.
It's so gonna be
Josh C is asking if Hunters Creek is open for new people. Listen, Josh, if you want to come up to a Hunters Creek Airsoft game to party with the Gun Gamers crew, we're open to all comers.
Yep, we usually host about like 3 to 4 events a year. Probably, I think the first event is tentatively going to be like first weekend of May, I believe. But we haven't formally posted anything up. Just look at the Facebook page. We'll post something, and we always new people are always welcome. It's just a lot of people haven't heard of my field because it's not my job. It's just something I do for fun.
Just like Gun Gamers.
Just like Gun Gamers.
Just like how no one's heard of us.
Absolutely no one's heard of us.
Okay, so we were talking about cool places to play. So I actually want to get into specifically a subject that Tyler had brought up that I think is really cool and really fun. And so that subject is, how can you make it where a national event promoter doesn't burn out its player base or lose its player base? How does a national event promoter keep its player base continuously engaged?
I mean, I'll take that up. I think important, because we saw a bit of that where there was the with the fall of Lion Claws and what happened with them. But besides the drama, leaving the drama outside of it, I think it's important, if you want to keep your player base going, you have to find the balance of the right amount of events. So, they're like, oh, cool, this event is coming into my area, or I'm willing to drive X amount of distance. It's in my zone. Right. And you have to host that with the right amount of frequency. Because if you host 5 events in that circle over a year, they're not going to be able to come to all of them. And they're going to be like, I'll wait for the next one, and something new will come out and that'll catch their eye. You got to have that balance of where they have like 1 to 2 events in a certain region a year. And that's what people get real excited about. And I think that's a good way to keep that balance, and switching the location up also helps. But if you have an amazing AO, staying is also a fair option.
I think what I'm gonna add into that, and it might get kind of ranty, so bear with me on this. But
oh god,
so
it's
not gonna be a bad rant. It's not gonna be a bad rant. But I think when I talk about sustainability of national event promoters like Milsim West, AMS, all the large groups, is that people generally nowadays have really short attention spans. And if you don't do something unique or new over a certain period of time, I feel like people kind of start to lose interest, and then they kind of drift away and look for something else. Because Airsoft really is a numbers game in terms of national events and AOs. I mean, you're looking to hit that target number that you want, so you get the profits and you're able to host an event down the line. So my question would be, how do you keep things unique and new and interesting enough to actually retain that same player base as the years go on? Because will we see, AMS and Milsim West and these other large event promoters 5 to 10 years down the line? Or is it going to be that one major event promoter takes another's place as, the years go on? So that's kind of what I kind of look for. So it's always difficult as, you're looking that far out, because it's never going to be set in stone regardless.
Well, so I actually want to mention that American Milsim has been around for how long at this point? Like, haven't they been running games since like 2007, 2008?
Yeah, I would say
really sure.
They've been around for a long time. I would say the longest national player was always the Lion Claws series, but that was on the decline before the drama associated with it. I think they burned out because they just ran the same formula over and over again, and they never evolved. And I think that's going to be the kind of key. If somebody wants to stick around, they have to be willing to evolve with how the market changes. And some of those national events, they don't do that, and they suffer, and they kind of walk away because of it. I mean, we haven't seen... who's new that was trying to do the Bubba Moore events? I haven't seen a lot of his stuff around. Yeah, Centurion. He jumped in, he did some stuff, and then he's kind of pulled back now. And I don't know if he's going to come back out in force again or what's going to happen with him.
He's got an event coming up, Charlie Mike. I think that'll be the real area where we see, how much staying power and how much do those guys have in them, because they've only run a few events.
Yeah, they haven't run that many.
I think they're still ironing out their format, really. But at the same time, while you do have to run something new and interesting and different, I also think you need to know what experience your player base is looking for. And I think this is something that American Milsim and Milsim West rely on a lot. They kind of know what people expect out of their events, and they're very willing and able to cater specifically to that on a continuous basis. And I think that's where they owe a lot of their staying power to.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, but on the flip side, look, I mean, do you feel that Lion Claws stuck too rigidly to what it tried to do in terms of what its player base expected from it? Or do you think it just didn't evolve properly?
I just don't know if Lion Claws delivered consistently the level of quality that people expected. And, but the thing is, I think the thing that Lion Claws failed to do was continue to appeal to the hardcore, because more hardcore experiences came out. And now they're kind of refocusing now on the casual from what I've seen. Like, it seems like Lion Claws is kind of refocusing on the casual level of experience. And I think they're having more success with that now. And that seems to be what they're doing.
Yeah, I see the market kind of segmenting that way, because there's like the intro national ops, which is like Bad Blood, for example, perfect intro national event. And Lion Claws was kind of there, but then the price kept climbing. And they advertised as a hardcore Milsim event, but that's not really what they were. So I think it falls back to what we were in the local fields, is selling what you are versus what you're not.
Yeah, knowing what kind of experience to market yourself as. And that's what Milsim West is very good at, in my opinion. They know exactly how to market themselves as the premier hardcore Milsim experience, because right now in the United States, they kind of are.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I feel like with Lion Claws, they had an interesting setup nationally where they had kind of smaller scale events around the country. But then what really drove people to their one main event was Irene, because that was like their biggest event of the year. And
and the Mutok was a sick AO too. That also
it was really a great AO.
And I think that was kind of like their thing. That was their one primary focus a year, was Irene, which is okay. I mean, if you're going to double down your efforts on one main game and have kind of smaller games around the States and that works for you, great. But don't be surprised if you have, other groups like you said, Milsim West, appealing to a larger player base, because they say, look, our AOs are huge. It's a 40-hour continuous game. You're going to be sleep deprived, tired. You might get rained on, but you'll probably love it, but hate yourself afterwards. And everyone's like, yep, let's go to that one. Let's do that one. That sounds fun. And, we'll hate ourselves afterwards, but it's fine. And then you just kind of appeal to that hardcore group of players that want to do something new. And that, they may be looking forward towards. AMS is kind of the same way, but I feel AMS is a little bit more, like, it's like a step more casual than Milsim West, I would say, which is fine. I don't think.
But AMS knows to market themselves as that more casual level of Milsim,
which is fine. Like I said, there's no issue with that, and I think you can kind of win on either side. If you're a hardcore Milsim player or if you're a hardcore casual player, you have the best of both worlds right now.
And I also think. Continue. I'm sorry.
Go. No,
I was gonna say. I was gonna say. I also think that American Milsim is the unique advantage of they have shit like their dams and their Guardian missions.
Yes.
Yes. Chris, I've played at Milsim West games, and I love Milsim West as the most hardcore Milsim experience. But in terms of a scenario-driven experience, I don't know what competes with the Guardian mission we did.
I mean, that was amazing. That was the highlight of the whole weekend. Was running those 2 dam missions.
Mm-hmm.
Just the intensity and the more, it's the LARPing, it's the role playing, where they actually put you into a scenario where you have to do a specific thing, not just a general objective.
Yeah, it was just totally awesome. But that's actually, and I also want to mention, because then we're talking about, diversifying the market, how the market has more than one segment, how there's the casual and the hardcore. And now Milsim West is breaking into the hardcore, because now they have the Desert Fox games.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about those.
I'm going to be curious how the Desert Fox games end up going. I really hope they bring one up here into the Northeast, because I would love to try one out.
Or you could go to Southern Strike to Mississippi and stop being a pussy. That's what I'm doing. Gotta be at Southern Strike. So if you're going to Desert Fox event, Southern Strike, look for me there. Gonna be a good time. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. 15 hours or what is that? 16 hours in a car? That's a long fucking ass time.
Listen, I have a lot of death metal that will keep me busy. In
Oh,
that
I know. I know you have a lot of death metal.
It's not going to keep you busy. It's going to keep you awake. That's the difference. It's not busyness you're going to have to. It's about being conscious enough to drive that length of time. Or you could be like me.
Kyle is Kyle is well aware of how much death metal I have in my car. He knows.
There's a lot of death.
We all are. Trust me. Most of us have been in your car. Most of us been kept awake in the car rides by whatever you've played.
Listen, nothing makes me more amped for a weekend of BB Wars than Motherless Miscarriage by Infant Annihilator.
And that works. That's fine.
It does. It's great.
To piggyback off what we're talking about right now, Barry in the chat asked, what tips would you have for someone who wants to make the jump from local games to national events?
Ooh. Well, the number one tip I would actually give might seem counterintuitive, but I think it also circles back full circle to something we said earlier in the conversation. Your experience at local games should be as varied as possible, because the more practice and the more experience you have with different scenarios and different styles of play, the more prepared you're going to be for a longer form, continuously evolving op.
Yeah, I would say you want to go in there with an open mind experience, because if you've only played at one field and you're really ingrained in this one structure and you go over to a national event, it's going to be a lot of culture shock in terms of how it operates. Another big thing like that we were talking about before, get a bunch of guys who are like, hey, let's go do this. Let's go check that thing out. It'll be really cool. And you know what, that way, even if the event isn't your style, you can still have a lot of fun because you're with your buddies.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did when what was it 2013 I think it was when we went to what was the Lion Claws op where
we met?
Yeah, where we
that was 2015. That was Red Storm East.
Yeah, Red Storm East. That was it. That was the first national op that I had ever been to, and it was me, Garrett, Joe, and a couple of the other guys. We just got together and said, "Hey, let's go do this thing." We didn't even know these guys were going to be there until we ran into them the night before everything started.
I fucking know you. But yeah, having a bunch of guys that's similar with is good. Also, before an event starts, don't drink a lot of Four Loko. I did that for one of my early on national events.
It's
a terrible idea.
Pussy. I got annihilated both nights before the gameplay at Gladio, and I was just fine.
I'm gonna also add in. I'm also gonna add in that you might have to try a couple of different national ops before you find one that works for you. So if you go to one, don't be discouraged if you don't have a great time, because that just may not be the play style for you. If it's too hardcore, switch to AMS where it's kind of more casual. If it's too casual, then you have Milsim West where you can spend 40 hours in the rain and cold, and then you're like, you know what, cool, I got my patch, I'm done, going home, go from there. So, he also says, what's an easy way to kind of find them? I think Facebook groups.
Facebook groups. Most
things
event
like that.
marketing done on Facebook, really.
Yeah,
follow the national promoters on Facebook. And I do want to tell the damn kids today how easy they have it, because back in my day, we didn't have 5 or 6 different national level event promoters.
All right, where's your like one around?
Yeah, I have a beer can. Is this a cane? Back in my day, we had Lion Claws, and we liked it.
Fantastic.
And then they had, oh my God, I remember their original website. You know what? It's still probably that same shitty, worthless website.
The Web 2.0 website.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Back in my day, we didn't have American Milsim with an actual ticket website, or Milsim West, which had an integrated checkout that works really well on mobile devices.
Mobile website? What is that? We didn't have that. Didn't even exist.
Our phones didn't even have internet.
That was a cell phone.
I had a flip phone. My battery lasted for 42 days.
I meleeed a man to death on the field with a Nokia cell phone once. Never got up again.
Now I throw my Galaxy S7 into clear rooms.
You better have insurance for that if you're going to start tossing $800 into a room. So yes, you basically just shop around, and I say shop around, but I mean, go to these events. You're going to probably have to put forward some money to this because, like I said, you have to find what you like. I don't think there would really be one side or the other that I would kind of be swayed towards. I mean, I've been playing Airsoft for, I don't know, 10 to 15 years now, and it's all the same to me. I mean, it's going to be fun regardless. If I have a group of people around me that I like going with and I can shoot equally, cool. Let's do it. Let's just party up with it.
If there's going to be another thing I would add in is if you're just getting into the national events, an easy thing to fall into is you feel that you have to buy infinite amounts of stuff. You don't. What you generally go to with your games, as long as you meet the uniform requirements, unless it's a Milsim West style experience, what you have is probably just fine. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need that. Operate with what you have. It'll work just fine as long as you've got a standard competitive AEG, which is pretty much every AEG on the market these days.
Well, I mean, Chris just recently, came to Faded Giant and had never been to a national game before. What was your first national game experience like, Chris?
Well, first thing I had to do is I had to downgrade my spring because it was my out of the box gun was
in the hotel room the night before. I remember that.
Right.
But
yeah.
I was really drunk.
Hey, it worked.
Of course.
It was fine. It was, it was just basically playing in a gigantic field. There was 300 people per side. You got to tell me what all the little, what the FOB meant and all those little acronyms that I had no idea what they were. I'm like, where are we going to the FOB?
30 Sierras to step off.
Yeah, and then I saw the failure of command too. That was my first experience.
I thought a fob was something I had on my keychain. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. And put those away because if you lose them in the field, we're stuck here, and we're not going to take a bus home to friggin' New York. That'd be terrible.
That's another thing. Depending on what national event promoter you choose, don't expect your command structure to be amazing. Plan to make your own fun if shit falls apart, because it probably will.
Yeah.
It did.
And account for travel.
And then day two, they put the two worthless brigades together. Went from bad to worse.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, it was, see something that was a little bit more militaristic, a little bit more structured than the casual local field kind of thing was a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to do another one of those if they ever come anywhere closer than, South Carolina.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to Ground Zero Airsoft more, because we have to go visit Joe and the new baby.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to hopefully be there like June, I think we were aiming for.
I'm aiming for June. I'm down for all the trips to Ground Zero. That's one of my favorite fields that's within a drivable distance, personally.
Yeah, that's a really good field. I love the layout and the terrain setup. It's a real nice balanced variety of stuff.
Yeah, so shout out to Ground Zero Airsoft in Connecticut. If you're around there, definitely check them out.
Are we taking the baby airsofting already? Or is it we're just visiting it and then going to play? How's that working?
I want to take it airsofting. Right? I want to take the baby airsofting already if we can. That's ideal.
I think for the size of the baby's hands, Derringer would fit perfectly in the palm. So there we go. Work out perfectly. 2 shots, won't miss. Maybe. Perfection.
We just got to armor up the stroller first and mount the LMG on top.
Yeah, there we go.
We can have Garrett engineer a stroller. A battle stroller.
Battle stroller.
armor plating on the side, Lexon glass front. Oh my god, that would be amazing. Eat your heart out, Gerber. Can't touch us. Bring it.
All right. So I think we've pretty much hit all of our topics. Do we want to get a couple of viewer questions and then wrap this up?
Sure.
All right. So if you're watching and you're still interested in hearing what we have to say, which frankly would be amazing, if you have any questions for us, we'll probably hit like 2 or 3 questions, and then we'll call this a podcast. I've got one here. That's Amy. What is your favorite gun?
Yep. Let me guess.
I have no idea.
Does Amy even know?
Amy, hello.
Listen. My favorite gun, by
She
far,
has to think.
Tokimuri High Kappa.
Tokimuri High Kappa. But which of your High Kappas? Bonus points if you go get it and put it on camera.
I got it right here. Very sentimental.
It's already
but
there.
It's got to be this one. It's got to be my purple. It's my first build.
Oh, the purple one. Yeah.
Oh, the purple one is your. Nice. Now, hold on. Are you still I have to give you shit, Amy. Are you still wearing your new Spiritus rig?
No, I have it. I took it off, but I have it right here. See? Bam! On top, I got a little Robo patch because Robo Murray.
And the Gun Gamers patch, the gold logo. Hell yeah.
I like how Amy took the front of the Spiritus and made it into a fucking billboard for New Prawl, Robo, Speed QB. It's like a whole just advertising panel that just sits perfectly right in the middle. That's great.
Also,
All right.
on the back strap, I also have another patch.
Jesus. Sweet Judy.
Oh,
SK, I'm going to stop you there. If we asked Amy what mods are in that pistol, we would be here for another hour.
yeah, you would.
And that's on the lesser scale of time, too. That's being generous.
All the mods.
Yeah, let's just say there's nothing left. That's the easiest way to put it.
The frame is stock.
Oh, there we go.
Shocking.
Is that
The
it?
frame is
Not
stock.
There we go.
So, all right. What are your guys' opinions about Action Army expanding into the United States more? Is Action Army like the Chinese airsoft upgrades part manufacturer? Because I think I
like
used
jump
some of
in
their
here.
parts like
I
way
wanna
back
jump
in the day.
Because,
Yeah, I was gonna
my
say
brother
they used to make
just-
shitty clones.
Oh, yeah.
My brother actually just picked up a couple VSR 10 parts from Action Army. It was a hop up in a barrel. He says it works amazing. So I'm assuming that they're decent-ish.
Yeah, I mean, Action Army parts, from my understanding, were never bad. Just go open the door, Corey. But Action Army parts were they were pretty good from what I saw. So if they want to expand more to the United States, then maybe more people will use them, and maybe they'll be good. Hopefully, we'll find out. Anyways, so one last question. Actually, two questions, but I'm going to jokingly answer this one. Why do I cry but not die? You don't die because you're wearing Cry. And what favorite HPA engine for everyone? The Polar Star Jack is super flexible, and a lot of people really like it. That's the one I recommend to most people who are on a budget. The
I
Wolverine
recommend the
Inferno
Jack.
was really good too.
Yeah,
agree.
I had the Jack. I really liked it. It was super simple, and it kind of fits in all platforms. Again, depending on which one you buy, they make different versions for the version 3 and version 2. But the Jack is super simple, hands down, one of the better ones.
I think the N7 is sweet. The N7 Milsim.
Oh yeah, the N7 Milsim is sick, but it's not for everyone because it's semi-auto only and it's
Yeah.
V2 only.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that'd be my pick, though. I want that new MTW, though. That's what I want.
Yeah. All right, guys. So if you submitted questions and we didn't answer them, don't feel bad. We might hit them in the next podcast because we're always thinking of new subjects and new stuff to do. But I think we've pretty much exhausted our subjects for this podcast, and I have a bunch of people here who are waiting to drink. So we're gonna
Tell
go
them to
do
say
that.
hi.
Yeah, Jim and Corey,
Corey.
get on camera.
I want to yell at Corey's face.
Yeah. Everyone yell at Corey. Hi, Corey, wearing a Power Trip T-shirt.
Hi,
Get the
Corey.
Power Trip T-shirt on frame.
Hi, Corey.
Yeah, get down here, Jim.
Hey, everybody.
Oh yeah.
How we doing?
Yeah, break me off a piece of that. Mwah.
All right, guys. So thank you all very much for watching. Thank you very much to all of the people who came on to be a part of this podcast, Kyle and Amy and Chris and Tyler. Everyone give an outro quick. First you, Tyler.
I don't know what to say. I had fun. It was great. Love being here. And I will see all of the Gun Gamers hopefully in July.
Yes. Kyle.
Been fun, as of always. I'm going to keep drinking now. Sadly, not at Eric's house, but maybe next time.
Yes,
I'm going to
next
drink by
time.
myself and be sad right now.
Chris.
Kyle, don't drink alone. That's not a good sign. Had a
It's not alone if he hops on PSN with Amy, right?
There
That's
you
the
go.
plan.
Exactly.
All right, Amy, what do you got to say?
That's gonna be really funny. Thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to buy that merch.
Buy that merch.
No.
I hate you so much.
You are the
Okay.
worst.
On
I
that
mean, Eric's fashioning it.
Jake Paul reference. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good night and praise Judy.